Shabbat Shalom. Greetings to the family of the 12 tribes of Israel. Greetings to you all. My apologies for not making it yesterday. First of all, glory and honor to our Father, Yah, and the creator of heaven and earth, the sea, and all that in them is, who is the beginning, the now, and the end, who is inhabiting all spaces at once and knows the path that he's leading us forward. Glory and honor to his name. And to Messiah, Yahushua, his spokesman and representative of the Father, his sacrifice for sins, the Father's high priest on our behalf, so that sin can be removed from us and we could be completely healed and prepared for the return of Messiah and the kingdom that is about to be established. Glory and honor to Father Yahweh and to Messiah Yahushua. Greetings to the 12 tribes scattered to the four corners of the earth, because our fathers worshipped other gods and turned away from Father Yahweh and Messiah Yahushua. But Father has, through Messiah, brought us back and awakening us now to who we are and what our destiny is. And that's what we're studying when we're talking about the book of Revelation, our destiny. Greetings to the 12 tribes who are awakening, and to the 144,000 who are now among them and are now being prepared and are indeed starting the work of being the forerunners for the return of Messiah and the establishment of the messianic kingdom of the house of Jacob. Greetings. And to the precious ones among the Gentiles from Shem, Ham, and Japheth that are not of the bloodline, but are through the blood of Messiah, grafted into the house of Jacob. Greetings. To the chat, Brother Psalms 119, Castle King, Sister Azariah, Hebrew is Rhonda, Sister Isha Shama, and Brother Frankie. And again, thank you, Isha, for all your help. She's been such a blessing to me for more than 20 years. And Brother David Harriet, congratulations. These are in order. Brother Gary Joseph, Superstar, Stephen Kelly, Only One Way, J House, Maturity Approach, Ikaja Francis, DW. Greetings and blessings to all of you. So, yeah, let me tell you, if you don't know yet, taking care of an elderly parent is a lot of work, okay? And you know what? I didn't even realize how much goes into it over this month of December, man. And yesterday we were moving my daddy from the rehab to the house, and yeah, there's a lot. And I want to say this, man. I just want to give praise to the Father for choosing me to do it, because it's an honor and a pleasure to help my Father. So praise the Most High. And I want to thank you all for your patience. So yesterday I was so beat, so tired. I worked half a day basically, and then did all the stuff that was necessary to get my father set up. And there's still more to do. I just came from his house a few minutes ago. That's why we changed it from 10 to 10:30. And I still got more stuff to do here. And I got help. And even with the help, there's a lot to do. So yeah, praise the Most High. But we have some important stuff to go through today. Now, brethren, we started, one of the things that bothered me is I respect this book so much. I respect this volume, the King James Bible, so much that I don't want to dishonor my Father, my Heavenly Father, by dishonoring this book. Okay. And one we talk about all the time, and I'm praising the Most High for y'all, because y'all have learned the principle of 2 or 3 witnesses. That's a very important, I think y'all could testify that is extremely important principle in understanding the doctrines of the Bible. You need 2 or 3 witnesses, and that helps you get clarity into doctrines. And it also protects you so that when people come with false doctrines, you will be able to see through them, because they will not have 2 or 3 witnesses. So I praise the Most High for that. So this morning is going to be a part of what they're talking about when we're talking about the 2 witnesses. Now, look, somebody can flippantly look at 2 witnesses and say, oh, it's Moses and Elijah. But that doesn't completely tell the story, right? As we've been studying, yes, Moses and Elijah are 2 witnesses. And then we went last week into the depth of the 2 tables of the covenant being 2 witnesses, okay? But that doesn't completely tell the story, nor does it help you understand what we're about to read in Revelation chapter 11. And the thing is, the prophecy is given to us, brethren. The prophecy is given to us so that we will be prepared against what is about to happen, and that we will be ready so we can go through what's about to happen with a thorough and clear understanding of what is happening. And that when false flags come up, and most of y'all know when I say a false flag, but let me explain for those that may not understand. A false flag is an event that takes place that causes you to get confused and not know what's happening. It's prearranged. We've seen many false flag operations here in the United States. Okay, many. And they're used to confuse the people, to bring a sense of confusion, and then out of the confusion, the enemy will set direction. Does that make sense, y'all? Out of confusion, the enemy will set direction based on what he wants done. Okay, now prophecy helps you see through the false flag because you have the sure word of the Father. You have the sure word of the Father. For example, the Bible tells us, right, in Revelation 13, as we're going to get there, you will see, and as we have seen, we're going to go through some stuff today. Okay, you know we got to go thoroughly into this thorough background. I'm not in a rush to get through this because this is very important, and we got to be prepared. But you will see United States of America plays a prominent role in the last events of the history of Babylon. And the destruction of this Babylonian kingdom, the United States is playing a prominent role. The Bible shows us that. Okay, so when you start hearing people talking about, well, China's going to overtake the United States or Russia's going to overtake the United States, that's a false flag. You understand? You got me? Because what the Bible is declaring to us, no, it's the United States of America. Okay, the Bible is declaring that to us. All right, so that wait, also when the Bible says there are those that say there are Jews and are not, but are the synagogue of Satan. There are those that of Edomia, the Edomites that take over my land with joy. There are those that with Edomites that take over the space where my people had to scatter. And you see that. And so when you see it happening and people are lauding the false ones as if they're the true, you can see through it. Why? Because you got the sure word of the Most High telling you what's going on. Testing, y'all got me? Y'all feeling what I'm saying? Because that's what I'm saying when I'm talking about a false flag. It's extremely important so you can see through it. Because let me tell you something, brother. The power of media in the world controls 99% of the human minds. The power of media in the world controls 99% of human minds. Okay? And the banking system that we have right now, the banking system controls all finance. You understand? The banking system controls all finance. So anybody thinking they're going to use any type of currency, I don't care if it's Bitcoin, Witcoin, dollar bills, euros, if you use it, any type of currency, let me tell you, it's already controlled. Okay? Be careful. Okay? But see, when Messiah returns, currency ain't gonna help him. Currency ain't gonna help him. Banks ain't gonna help him. Because you know why? They're gonna all be destroyed. You're gonna see dollar bills and Bitcoin and everything in the street. Nobody touching it. Why? Because it ain't doing nobody no good. You can't buy nothing. You understand? So why do we know this? That's why we know. Okay, and there's a lot of more, right? Which we're gonna go into today. So the last time we discussed really two important areas of two witnesses. We discussed the two tables of the covenant or the testimonies, and we discussed Moses and Elijah. And we also understood that they're one. The two tables of the testimony and Moses and Elijah are one. How? Because Moses and Elijah were obedient to the covenant. Elijah was brought forth in the spirit and power from the Father. And Moses was the medium used, the mediator used to give Israel the testimony. Okay. So we saw that. We're going to go into more now because we got to get some more background, some more understanding as we get ready to go through what we're getting ready to go through, brethren. And I asked the question the last time before we left. Y'all remember? I said, what is the common number between Elijah, Messiah, right? It have in common. There's some common numbers, and y'all came up. A lot of y'all came up with. Y'all remember what it was? There's a common number between Elijah and Messiah. And I said, what's that number? It's an important number. No. Although, yes, Elijah and Messiah do share 40. Mark is right. But no. There's another one. And it's dealing with what we studied in Revelation. 40 is one. I got to give you that, Mark. 40 is one. That's right. It was 3.5. 3.5. 3.5 is a lot. We're going to go into that. 3.5. Very important. Very important. 3.5. Jacob, brother, I ain't heard from you, man. I need to talk to you about next Friday. Did you catch my messages, Jacob? I got to touch base with you, man. We got to touch base today if we can. Matter of fact, we got to have a meeting very quickly, soon, like in the next 2 weeks. We got to have a meeting on the Memorial Day weekend so that we get ready for that. Okay, the Memorial Day weekend. Yeah, so we'll talk about that. But okay. Let's get into the word. First, what we're going to do, we're going to start in what we did in chapter 10. Okay, chapter 10 of Revelation. Yeah, Arkawan Baya, we'll talk about it. But Arkawan Baya, I think what we need to do is decide how many of y'all. If it's going to be you and homie, then that's one set of flights, and it's gonna be you and the whole tribe. We gotta look at something else. So Akawan Baya, that's the first thing. What we bringing? Is it you and brother from that area, or what we bring? Yeah. Once we decide that, we can figure out the flights, but we gotta decide that because that's a major consideration, right? So we gotta talk about that. But okay. So first thing, let's go to chapter 10 because now remember, there's 7 churches. There's 7 seals and there's 7 trumpets. Okay, y'all remember that, okay? There's 7 churches, 7 seals, and 7 trumpets. Now, the difference between the trumpets and the other 2 is, if you recall, the trumpets are representing people whose prayers are not being heard. Remember, the angel took the censer with their prayers and threw it to the earth. So it's representing events during the same time as the Hebrew events of prayers of people who are not being heard. These are events in the world that touch us. The only thing Father cares about on the planet Earth is his people. His people. Messiah said, you are worth much more than many sparrows. The very hairs of your head are numbered. What Father is focused on is his people. It's particularly his bloodline people. And the only other people that he will mention are people who have interaction or touching with his people. Okay? Anybody touching his people is touching the apple of his eye. So when we're dealing with the trumpets, we're dealing with people who have interaction or touching with Yah's people, and how this affects us and what they're doing is showing us all of that. Okay? Now, in chapter, we started in the chapter 9 with the 6th seal, and we're now flowing into chapter 10, and we showed the effect of Islam, right? And that was the 5th seal, the 5th church, the 5th trumpet. We show the effects of Islam on Yah's people. That's why he said you have a name that lives and you're dead. Because by the time the 5th seal came, you had established now the 3 Abrahamic religions. And the Hebrews, us, this is how they affected us, the 3 Abrahamic religions. Tell me if you have understanding what I'm saying here. Christianity affected us because we were kidnapped by Christians. We were, We were kidnapped by Christians. We were raped by Christians. Am I lying or am I telling you the truth? When we were coming, we did not jump into ships from Africa and decided to come to the United States for a better life. We were kidnapped by Christians. Okay? That's the truth about it. And the Bible going to show us as we look at Daniel. Number two, we were also taken into slavery by Muslims. And we were also forced to convert to Islam, Islam came into a being in the 7th century. Okay, so those two, Christianity and Islam, are the two Abrahamic religions that the Hebrew bloodline has been practicing for over 1,000 years. Right? So you're talking about Christianity and you're talking about Islam. Those are the two religions that we, in our lost state, in our blinded state, in our ignorant state, we have been worshiping. Now, what about Judaism? Well, some of us try to practice Judaism. Unfortunately, some of our brothers from 100 years, 200 years ago, when they started thinking about getting away from white Jesus and getting away from Islam, they started going to Judaism. Marcus Garvey and them. But that was because they was being, like, they were brainwashed already. Didn't know where they were going. It's like blindness, right? But you're not following Edomites to get the truth. But the Edomites control spaces that belong to us. Satan has used them to be a false flag of us. Am I right or am I wrong? They are the false flag of us. That's what they are. They're not the bloodline to Abraham. They're not the one that Moses showed the covenant to. They were not there in Egypt for over 200 years. They were not at Mount Sinai with our people. They did not come out of Egypt over 1 million strong and walk through the wilderness. They did not get connected and married to Africans and Egyptians. They did not. They were not taken into slavery with iron around their neck on ships. They were not. They were not brought into neighborhoods and redlined and depressed and placed in prisons by the millions. They were not. They did not get drugs sent into their neighborhood. They did not get people of theirs hung by trees. They did not. Okay? So they are the false flag of us. And they control the banking system and the media. Okay? We ain't got time to play around this morning. We ain't got time. We got to come straight, strong, and correct. All right. So I'm just giving you straight background. I'm giving you really and truly, for those of us that are in the truth, this is milk. Correct? Yeah, right? This ain't even meat yet. We still talking milk. This is milk. All right. So now we were in chapter 10. Okay. We still in the 6th trumpet. And we need to review chapter 10 because chapter 10 is the prelude to what takes place in chapter 11. Let me say it again. Okay, because of our previous brainwashing, particularly in Christianity. Christianity is a big brainwash system of white Jesus. It did not exist when Messiah walked the earth. He did not come to the earth to create Christianity. He came to the earth to be savior of the house of Jacob. I came not, he said, but for the lost sheep of the house of Israel. The Gentiles are going to have their rule until their time is fulfilled. And we are almost there. Okay. So here's the Messiah in chapter 10. Revelation chapter 10. And let's take a look at that. We got to review that because it flows into chapter 11. It's really the prelude of what's getting ready to happen in chapter 11. You need chapter 10 to understand what's happening in chapter 11. I want to make sure you'll hear that, okay? Because like I said, the Christianity takes chapter 11 as if it's an island by itself. Tell me I'm lying to y'all. I mean, when you first, as a Christian, was looking at chapter 11 of Revelation, you're just studying chapter 11 and not understand and not understand that chapter 10 flows into chapter 11. It's all the sixth trumpet, right? It flows together. Just like when you're looking at chapter 7, most people don't understand, it starts in chapter 6. Okay? Y'all ready? All right, so let's go to chapter 10 real fast. Now, I'm going to go faster through it because there's a lot to cover to go review in chapter 10 before we hit 11. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time doing it. I'm going to touch base on stuff. So I need y'all to do a couple things. You know, however you take notes, this is being recorded. So please go back and review it. Look at all the scriptures we will bring by the grace of the Father, Yahweh, and look at the scriptures and look at what we're talking about here, and come back and do it yourself later because there's a lot. Okay? There's a lot. All right? Y'all ready? All right. So Revelation chapter 10, let's start at verse 1 and 2. Revelation chapter 10, verse 1 and 2. And I saw another mighty angel come down from heaven, clothed with a cloud, and a rainbow was upon his head. And his face was, as it were, the sun, and his feet as pillars of fire. And he had in his hand a little book open. And he set his right foot upon the sea and his left foot upon the earth. And he cried with a loud voice as when a lion roared. And when he had cried, 7 thunders uttered their voices. And when the 7 thunders had uttered their voices, I was about to write. And I heard a voice from heaven saying unto me, seal up those things which the 7 thunders uttered, and write them not. And the angel which I saw stand upon the sea and upon the earth lifted up his hand to heaven, and sware by him that liveth forever and ever, who created heaven and the things that therein are, and the earth and the things that therein are, and the sea and the things which are therein, that there should be time no longer. But in the days of the voice of the 7th angel, when he shall begin to sound, the mystery of Yahweh should be finished, as he hath declared to his servants the prophets. And the voice which I heard from heaven spake unto me again and said, Go and take the little book which is open in the hand of the angel which standeth upon the sea and upon the earth. And I went unto the angel and said unto him, Give me the little book. And he said unto me, Take it and eat it up, and it shall make thy belly bitter, but it shall be in thy mouth sweet as honey. And I took the little book out of the angel's hand and ate it up, and it was in my mouth sweet as honey. And as soon as I had eaten it, my belly was bitter. And he said unto me, Thou must prophesy again before many peoples and nations and tongues and kings. Okay. Messiah comes down with this little book in his hand. He yells something like a lion, because he is the lion of the tribe of Judah. When he yelled, the Father, who is the 7 thunders, uttered his voice and said something. Said something that the angel told John, do not write that. But it's going to be completed in the 7th trumpet. That is the return of Messiah. The mystery that the whole book of Revelation is talking about, that nobody else knows but the Father, is the return of Messiah. Now, what does it say? That little book was Daniel. Okay. Now, Ezekiel is an example of to us. Ezekiel and Revelation are 2 witnesses to the fact that when the Father gives a prophet a book or something that is a scroll to eat, it represents his word that they're eating, which they're going to speak. So Ezekiel was given a book in Ezekiel chapter 2, and he ate it, and it was sweet in his mouth. And then it was full of woe and damnation, and he was given that message to Israel. Daniel here is shown to be given, that book is being eaten by John, and he said, Thou must prophesy before nations, kings, and tongues and peoples. Thou must prophesy. So while Ezekiel was given a loaf to eat that was sweet, but it was to give bitterness to the Israelite in terms of their future, this thing is about the revealing of the book of Daniel by Yah's people. And why is it many nations and kindreds and tongues and people? Because Yah's people are scattered into many nations and kindreds and tongues in people. And wherever Yah's people are, that's where the message is to be given. Now, someone might ask, what about the Gentiles? Are they to be given the message? They will hear the message and either say yay or nay, because the message will be from a Hebrew. Why is that important? Hebrews are hated. Hebrews are despised. Hebrews are a byword on the earth. Their skin is a badge of dishonor. And the leaders of this earth come from Gog and Magog. That is European. This world is run by the European, and he hates the Hebrew. So for an important message to be coming from the Hebrew, it is most likely rejected by Gog and Magog. So wherever the Hebrews are, the message is going to be given. And whatever Gentiles want it, when they hear it, they can receive it. Okay? Now, what we need to understand, though, is the message. Does that make sense, y'all? There's a message to be given. You should know what it is. The Bible just showed us where it comes from. It comes from Daniel. You got me so far? It comes from Daniel. So the message comes from Daniel. So an understanding of the prophecies of Daniel will give you an understanding of the message. The message given to the people. Are we with me so far? Brethren, testing 1, 2, 3. Now, I want to give you something else here, which we're going to get into. When you look at Revelation 11, you will see almost a parallel between the numbers there and the events in terms of the life of Messiah, the life of Messiah, the life of Elijah, and these two witnesses. Now, why do I say that? Messiah preached his message for 3.5 years. He started at age 30, and age 33.5, he finished. 3.5 years is 42 months. It's also 1,260 days. 3.5 years. At the end of 3.5 years, he entered as the sacrifice for sin, as the Passover lamb into Jerusalem. And 3.5 days later, on a Wednesday, he was sacrificed at 3 p.m. 3.5 days after that, on a Saturday night, he rose. Okay? 3.5 years after that, in the fall, 3.5 years later, Stephen was stoned to death, marking the end of the Israelite period of independent or partially independent living. They became slaves. They became scattered first. There was a falling away and then slaves. That marked the end of 490 years. Before I give you too much, let's go to Daniel and go over these things, because there's a lot. The message is in Daniel. Now, when I say Daniel, let me help you understand. It's not only in Daniel, all the prophets support the message, but the basics of the message is Daniel, and it connects with Revelation. So if there's something that seems foggy in Revelation, it'll probably be clear in Daniel. And there's something that seems foggy in Daniel, it'll be clear in Revelation, because they're like puzzles, pieces to a puzzle that unlock each other. Okay, this is a hint, big hint just gave you. So if there's something unclear in Revelation, find it in Daniel. If there's something unclear in Daniel, you'll find it in Revelation. They're each other's witness. Okay, let's start in Daniel. So first, let's go back to Daniel. We're gonna move quickly through Daniel. This is not gonna be, it's not gonna be the Bible studies like we did when we went through these things. But no, this is Daniel. We're gonna float through it, but I'm gonna touch on highlights here. Okay, touch on highlights here. So Daniel chapter 1. Daniel chapter 1. the Hebrews are brought into the Babylonian system. Daniel chapter 1. As a result of sin, the Hebrews are in the Babylonian system. Question, can you relate to that? Can you relate to that? The Hebrews are brought into the Babylonian system and their names are changed. Can you relate to that? Daniel chapter 1. That's Daniel chapter 1. The Hebrews are brought into the Babylonian system and their names are changed. And they're absolutely right. And they're absolutely being put into a system that they're told that their language, they're gonna learn the language, they're gonna have new names, you're gonna be Babylonian gods, the whole nine, right? Okay. But Daniel and his three friends, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, decide, no, we're gonna be faithful to our God. So the majority of the Hebrews are faithful to the Babylonians, but there are three among them, a remnant, that decide, I want to serve our God, even if we're in Babylon. Does that sound familiar? Yes. There you go. Okay, so far so good. That was just chapter 1. Okay, so now Daniel and his boys are working in the Babylonian system. They even though they're serving Yah, they're working in the Babylonian system. They're among Babylonians. They're being paid by Babylonians. They're in the Babylonian system. Okay, chapter 2. Babylon's king has a dream. Babylon's king has a dream. And he has power. In fact, at that time, he's the most powerful man on earth. Now, he forgot the dream. It's important, though, because it woke him out of his sleep. He forgot the dream. Now, later on, he gets very upset. He's going to kill everybody. All the wise men, the so-called soothsayers and all that. He's going to kill the psychics because none of them could tell him what he dreamt except Daniel. So the Most High Yah revealed to Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah what the king dreamt, what he was thinking before he fell asleep, and what he dreamt and what it meant. Told him all that. The most important thing about in the beginning, what he was thinking before he fell asleep. Okay, Daniel chapter 2. Daniel chapter 2. Going to begin at verse 29. Daniel chapter 2, verse 29. As for thee, O king, thy thoughts came up into thy mind upon thy bed, what should come to pass hereafter? He that revealeth secrets maketh known to thee what shall come to pass. So the thought was, what's the future? And you know, and I know, like this whole industries, 900 numbers, psychics, tarot card readers, built on people's desire to want to know the future. Am I lying, right? There's a whole, billions of dollar industries, psychics, there's tarot card readers, palm readers, crystal ball, and then you got the astrologers. It's all built on, you got your Sagittarius and Virgo and all that. You got all of this built on what's my future, right? So Nebuchadnezzar was no different. He wanted to know what's the future. Now, this is important, brethren, because why? Because Father, and look what Daniel said, verse 30. But as for thee, the secret is not revealed to me for any wisdom that I have more than any living, but for their sakes. Who's there? That's those who live in the future. But for their sakes, that shall make known in the interpretation to the king, and thou mightest know the thoughts of thy heart. So he said, the Most High is going to show you the future. And again, brother and sisters, look, prophecy is about the future, right? So again, the revelation of Messiah, revelation of Jesus Christ, which Father Yah gave unto him to show unto his servants things that must shortly come to pass. So Father Yah is showing his people the future. And brethren, that's why it's so important, man, that we understand what Father's teaching us. Because, like, let's say somebody say, okay, in the future, Hiroshima and Nagasaki, let's say we were 200 years ago, in the future, these two Japanese cities, Hiroshima and Nagasaki, are going to be destroyed, right? And then somebody else says, that's not true. That's a false prophecy. No, in the future, Hiroshima and Nagasaki is going to be safe. You really want to avoid New York. So on December 7th, 1941, a bunch of people said, oh, that was false. The true prophecy is the one that tells us to be in New York. And then we said, no, the true prophecy is the one that tells us to be in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. So the people that follow the false prophecy end up in Hiroshima and Nagasaki and are destroyed. And the people that go to New York to get away from Hiroshima and Nagasaki are safe. Do y'all understand what I just said? That's the importance of knowing what's about to happen. Because people who follow a false prophecy are going to be destroyed. It's destiny and life at stake. That's why I tell y'all, start in Genesis. Pray to your Heavenly Father. Start in Genesis and read all the way through to Revelation. Year, 2 years, whatever it takes. Start in Genesis and read all the way through to Revelation. Okay? And ask him for his spirit to guide you. And when you get done, do it again and keep doing it until the day you can't do it no more. Keep doing it. Because, brethren, that's what we're talking about. This is not just a philosophical discussion. People's lives are at stake. Your life, my life, our family and friends' lives are at stake. What Asatan has done is made it into a game, a guessing game, where everybody's having their little philosophy and guess. They're all going to be destroyed. So we must know for certainty what's happening. Does that make sense, y'all? I mean, do you hear me? So you must know. You must not guess. It's good to tell the Father you don't know. That's not a problem. Because the Father knows how important this is. And so he will reveal to you the truth when you first say, I don't know. But when you start to think, I think this is it, and I think I can guess it this way, you get ready to get yourself killed. And a whole lot of people with you. And brethren, the world is full of false prophets. Full. And they're no way going to be ready for what's about to hit them. Okay? It's like an earthquake coming. Who knows? You know what I mean? They try to predict now. You know, when they hear tremors way beneath the earth, they try to tell you when the earthquake, but it's hard to predict. And when it comes, people that don't know, you see, brethren? And so you must be prepared. And that's in every area of life. Just yesterday, man, wife, 2 kids. He's upstairs. Somebody knocks on the door downstairs. He goes downstairs. And as he's opening the door, bullets start flying. And then he fell back. They walked into and they had 2 semi-automatic handguns, 2 men. They emptied it on him. He's dead. If he'd have known not to answer that door, he might still be alive. But he didn't know. He didn't know. So, brethren, no. Don't guess. No. Okay? So here's Daniel. And the Father has revealed to him the future. And he's revealing it to Nebuchadnezzar. So now we see Nebuchadnezzar had a dream about a statue. Okay? So let's take a look at it. Daniel chapter 2. Again, we're going to flow through this pretty quickly because we got a lot to cover. We're going to actually touch every chapter in Daniel, but we're just going to touch it. So Daniel chapter 2, he has verse 31. Thou, O king, sawest, and behold, a great image. This great image, whose brightness was excellent, stood before thee, and the form thereof was terrible. The image's head was of gold, his breast and his arms of silver, his belly and his thighs of brass, his legs of iron, his feet part of iron and part of clay. Thou sawest that a stone was cut out without hands, which smote the image upon its feet that were of iron and clay, and brake them to pieces. Then was the iron, the clay, the brass, the silver, and the gold broken to pieces together, and became like the chaff of the summer threshing floors. And the wind carried them away, so that no place was found for them. And the stone that smote the image became a great mountain and filled the whole earth. Some important things here. We saw Daniel interpret this dream. The metals represented kingdoms, okay? 4 particular kingdoms. Now, why were these 4 kingdoms chosen? Here's your first test question of the day. Why were 4 kingdoms? Why were these 4 kingdoms? Of all the millions, or not millions, but many, many kingdoms that have been on the earth, many more than 4. Why were these 4 chosen? Zechariah does tell us. Why were these 4 chosen? That's right, because these are the 4 kingdoms that scattered Israel. These were the 4 kingdoms that scattered Israel. They directly touched Israel. They directly touched his chosen ones. Babylon, the head of gold, scattered Israel. That's where it started, the scattering of us, with Babylon running from Nebuchadnezzar. Then came the Medes and the Persians, scattered Israel. Then came the Greeks, Alexander the so-called Great, changing the name of Mizraim, one of Ham's 4 sons, to Egypt. Scattered Yah's people. Then, of course, the final one. And think about the final one that we saw, brethren, was that it was in the feet. Why was that significant? Because the stone, which is the kingdom of Father Yahweh's Son, Messiah, that's the stone. Messiah is the stone that's going to establish a kingdom that will last forever and not be left to other people. He shall rule the house of Jacob forever, is what Gabriel told Miriam. So, the stone struck the feet, and the feet represent the end of the 4 kingdoms. So the feet is the end, because that's where the stone struck it. So the establishment of the Messiah's kingdom happens after the feet is struck, after he destroys the feet. And so whatever the foot or iron that's in the foot represent is going to be around all the way until the Messiah's kingdom is established. Does that make sense? That's the last one. And iron represented Rome. It represented first the Roman Empire under the Caesars, and then later the system of Holy Rome, the religious empire, which we are in right now. Right now. Okay, let me say something again that I keep repeating, which I will keep repeating. The Bible never establishes a religion called Christianity. People get hung up on the fact that 3 people were called Christians. Were called Christians. An Edomite named Agrippa. An Edomite named Agrippa called Paul a Christian. Wait a minute. Did you hear what I just said? An Edomite king named Agrippa called Paul a Christian. Peter says, don't be ashamed if they call you a Christian. Why would you have to tell people? Peter was the apostle to the Hebrews. Paul was the apostle to the Gentiles. So Peter's 2 letters were to the Hebrews. Do y'all understand that? And he talked about in both his letters, us being scattered and us being a holy nation. And he said, don't be ashamed when they call you Christian. It wasn't like he was establishing a religion called Christianity. Some fool had the nerve to tell me he declared himself a Christian in his letter. See what I say when I say watch people that barely read the scriptures and try to tell you what it says? Okay, so there was no Christianity as a religion. If somebody was to ask you today, are you a Christian? And you say yes, what you are saying is you are part of a religion, that your religion is Christianity. That's what you're saying. The Messiah never came to create any new religion. That was not his mission. That is not what he did. He did not come to the earth to create a new religion. He came to the earth to establish what the Father gave through Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Abraham wasn't a Christian. Isaac wasn't a Christian. And Jacob wasn't a Christian. Okay? The Messiah and Abraham And Isaac and Jacob were Hebrews. And Jacob's children, one of which was Judah, from which Messiah sprang, was a Hebrew Israelite. There is no Christianity. So Christianity came, all the Christian churches today. Let's name some. The SDA Church, the Mormon Church, the Jehovah's Witness Church, the Baptist Church, the Pentecostal Church, the Lutheran Church, the Methodist Church, the Church of England, the Anglican Church. All of them were founded by people who come out of the Reformation. Am I lying, or is that the truth? All of them were founded by people who came out of the Reformation. Am I lying, or is that the truth? They all come out. The founders of those religious institutions, the founders, were products of the Reformation. What was the Reformation? The Reformation was a group of Catholic priests, Catholic priests like Martin Luther, William Tyndale, John Huss, that were trying to reform the Catholic Church. So all of them are children of the Catholic Church. The Catholic Church was started by a pagan emperor named Constantine, who had many gods and called himself a Christian. He did not get his religion from the Messiah. So then you had the Catholic Church. Then you had a reform movement trying to take place with the Catholic Church. They weren't trying to destroy the Catholic Church. They were trying to reform it, which is why they were called reformers and Protestants. So then they became Protestant churches. They weren't trying to get, none of those guys I mentioned were ever intending to leave the Roman Catholic Church. They were trying to reform it. So as we look back, being that that was their goal, to reform the Catholic Church, were they successful in reforming the Catholic Church? Or did the Catholic Church successfully create a special order called Jesuits that infiltrated all those churches? Let me give you these two. A, they reformed the Catholic Church successfully. B, the Catholic Church created a special order called Jesuits that infiltrated all of those churches. Or C, none of the above. Which one was it? It was B. So instead of reforming Rome, Rome took them over. Right. So now, that's right. And rebranded. That's exactly right. That's right. So now we can see where Christianity comes from. It's not hard. See, when you get emotional and you start talking about, well, Jesus was a Christian. He started Christianity. Can't you say it the New Testament? Oh, gosh, man. Oh, man. So anyway, that's the story, brethren. That's the story. So, Christopher, since you just tuned in, it would be kind of rude for you to try to, just try to follow what we're doing, bro. Don't try to, come in and talk about, this ain't an open discussion. Some people think we in a democracy. This ain't no democracy. Anyway, back to Daniel. So now we can see that Daniel was shown the succession of kingdoms that end with Rome being destroyed in its kingdom. Everybody got that? So that was chapter 3. I'm sorry, chapter 2. Sorry. Chapter 3 of Daniel. There was an image made of gold. Nebuchadnezzar decided there ain't going to be no kingdom after mine. So he made a whole image out of gold, and he demanded that everybody worship the image of Nebuchadnezzar. So Nebuchadnezzar was the king of the earth. His system was supreme. He made an image after himself, and he demanded that everybody worship the image. Right? Chapter 3. That sounds familiar, right? There's a beast, and then there's an image to the beast, and everybody was told to worship the image to the beast, Revelation 13. We'll get there. But in chapter 3, Nebuchadnezzar made an image, all of gold. It was after himself, and he said, everybody better worship this image or you're going to be put in the fiery furnace. Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah were the only three that decided, no, we're not going to worship this image. We don't care if you kill us. We're not worshiping your gods. And they were delivered. Father sent Messiah to deliver them. So, Daniel chapter 3, the Hebrews that were faithful to Yah are going to be put under a death penalty. Their refusal to worship Babylon's system is going to cause anger among the heads of Babylon. They will be placed under the death penalty, but Father will send Messiah to deliver them. Does that sound like a message, brethren? Does that sound like a message? Is that what we reflect here in Daniel chapter 3? So, Daniel chapter 2. Rome is the last great power that's ruling the earth. That's the message. Messiah is about to send a kingdom to destroy Rome and all these kingdoms. That's the message. Chapter 3. This is the message. We have Babylon making an image after itself and demanding that all people worship this image, and all people will, except a remnant of the Hebrews who refuse to break the covenant. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. And the Father will send the Messiah to deliver them. We're talking about the message given to John in chapter 4. I'm sorry, chapter 10 of Revelation. Chapter 10 of Revelation, right? That's what we're talking about. What is the message? We just saw 3 parts of it. Okay, chapter 4. Nebuchadnezzar is converted. His pride is broken. Daniel is sent, the Hebrew Daniel, sent to warn him. He doesn't heed the warning, and he's sick 7 years until he repents of his sin and comes back. So, there's a message given by the Hebrews that will cause some, even of high places, to repent and come back. What did Daniel tell him? Daniel chapter 4. Daniel chapter 4. Let's see. Verse 27, Daniel's warning to Nebuchadnezzar. Verse 27, Daniel chapter 4. This is Daniel's warning to Nebuchadnezzar as the Hebrews are being primed to warn people in Babylon. And people in Babylon that are chosen, destined to be among the redeemed are going to have to go through some things because of stiff-neckedness and pride. Daniel chapter 4, verse 27. Wherefore, O king, let my counsel be acceptable unto thee, and break off thy sins by righteousness, and thine iniquities by showing mercy to the poor, if it may be a lengthening of thy tranquility. Does that sound familiar? We're getting Revelation 10's message of prophecy from Daniel. And we're getting it fast, I admit, but we went through Daniel, didn't we? We did whole studies on Daniel. And we're going to go through more as we continue to study Revelation. But here we are. Okay. Daniel was involved with the government. He was one of the 3 presidents that the king chose to rule in the kingdom to keep things in order. Daniel was. But before we get there, let's go to the writing on the wall. So in chapter 5, Belshazzar, Nebuchadnezzar's son, has a party. And in this party was his business, except he started including holy vessels in his party. He started including things that the Father had created for who? Israel only. He started including instruments that the Father had created for not only just Israel, but only the Levitical priesthood was supposed to be touching. And he included it in his Babylonian party. And when he started doing that, there was some writing sent from the Father Yah on the wall, which the king didn't understand. But then Daniel was brought in and he understood the writing. Nobody understood the writing except the Hebrew Israelite that was brought in as a captive into Babylon that used to work in your government system. And now he's old and he understood the writing. Daniel chapter 5, verse 24 down to verse 31. Okay. Daniel chapter 5 from 24 to 31. Then was part of the hand sent from him, and this writing was written. And this is the writing that was written. Mene, mene, tekel, upharsin. This is the interpretation of the thing. Mene, Yah has numbered thy kingdom and finished it. Tekel, thou art weighed in the balances and art found wanting. Perez, thy kingdom is divided and given to the Medes and the Persians. Then commanded Belshazzar, and they clothed Daniel with scarlet and put a chain of gold about his neck and made a proclamation concerning him that he should be the third ruler in the kingdom. In that night was Belshazzar, the king of the Chaldeans, slain. And Darius the Median took the kingdom, being about 62 years old. So Daniel interpreted the writing on the wall as the fall of Babylon. So the fall of Babylon was proclaimed. Testing 1, 2, 3. The fall of Babylon was proclaimed. You see any similarities? The fall of Babylon was proclaimed. The Father sent the message that only the Hebrew Israelite could interpret. The fall of Babylon was proclaimed. Now, we don't have a Babylonian country. We have a Babylonian system. We wrestle not against flesh and blood, the Bible tells us, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. You don't looking at a country now. You're looking at a system. You have in the government, you have a capitalist system ruling the earth. In religion, you have the three Abrahamic religions ruling the earth, right? In business, you have corporations that are not people ruling the earth and controlled by people. This is the system we're in, right? All the richest entities are corporations. Amazon is run by Jeff Bezos, right? But he's part of a corporation. The United States government is a corporation. The Catholic Church and all churches are 501c3 corporations. Okay? Am I lying to you? That's what's going on. See? That's where we're at. So, you have all these corporations. You have religious systems already in place, monetary systems already in place, economic systems already in place. And so the declaration is it's all going to be destroyed. It's all going to be destroyed. It's going to be finished. Yah has numbered it and finished it. Well, we know from our study of the word, from 1844, Yah has numbered it and finished it. The only thing he's looking at now is his people that he's going to redeem out of it. Okay, that was chapter 5. A declaration of the fall of Babylon. Chapter 5. Chapter 6, prayer becomes illegal. Chapter 6, prayer becomes illegal. And for a religious act that Daniel performed, he was placed under a death penalty. Whosoever would not worship the image of the beast. It's again the second thing. It's the image again. Whosoever would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. That's stressed twice in Daniel. So that we have to understand The last movements of the Babylonian system, this kingdom that we're in, is religious. Everything's being set up for religious movements. Even this latest thing with these Pope of Rome declaring that certain priests can bless same-sex unions, he did that on purpose. There's going to be a backlash. And he already knows that. It's part of the setup. But that's another thing. Daniel chapter 6. Let's start this. Verse 4. Let's read from verse 4 down to verse 10. Daniel chapter 6 from verse 4 to verse 10. This is also, again, we're doing this. This is the message of prophecy that's coming to Revelation chapter 10 that the two witnesses are going to give. Okay? Daniel chapter 6, verses 4 to 10. Then the presidents and princes sought to find occasion against Daniel concerning the kingdom. But they could not find none occasion. They could find none occasion nor fault, for as much as he was faithful, neither was there any error or fault found in him. Then said these men, we shall not find any occasion against this Daniel, except we find it against him concerning the law of his God. Then these presidents and princes assembled together to the king and said thus unto him, King Darius, live forever. Let the presidents of the kingdom, the governors, the princes, the counselors, the captains have consulted together to establish a royal statute and to make a firm decree that whosoever shall ask a petition of any god or man for 30 days, save of thee, O king, shall be cast into the den of lions. Now, O king, establish the decree and sign the writing that it be not changed according to the law of the Medes and Persians, which authoreth not. Wherefore King Darius signed the writing and the decree. Now, when Daniel knew that the writing was signed, he went into his house, and his windows being opened in his chamber toward Jerusalem, he kneeled upon his knees 3 times a day and prayed and gave thanks before his Most High, as he had done aforetime. So Daniel knew what they were up to. He wasn't ignorant as to what the outcome of this plan was. So the Hebrew Israelites saw the plan that was being devised against him and knew what was going on and still served his God. Testing 1, 2, 3. So the Hebrew Israelite was aware of the plan that was being formulated against him. That's right. And he knew what their object was. He knew it. Not the king didn't know, but Daniel knew. And then the Bible said when he knew the decree was signed, he still went and he prayed, as he always did. And they arrested him for prayer and threw him in the lion's den, and no lion hurt him. Again, brethren, people are going to want to kill us. It's difficult to imagine what it's like. I mean, really, it's difficult to imagine what it's like when somebody's after your life. Much less when the whole system of people is after your life, like they want to kill you. They're after your life. It's going to be that way. But we are going to seek to serve Father Yah. And that's what we're being prepared for now. We're being prepared to be able, as the Messiah said, to stand. Question was asked, who shall be able to stand? So as we are seeking the Father's spirit of perfect righteousness, so that spirit inhabits us and dwells within us. It's a spiritual war, right? We have to be equipped with the spirit. So the spirit of the Father, perfect righteousness, dwell upon us. It's covering us like a coat. It comes within us at our permission and is preparing us to be able to stand firmly on the truth, to be able to stand firmly on his commandments, because that's what's coming. We can watch it as Daniel did. Daniel coolly, calmly watched the thing happen, knew what was happening, and still trusted in Father, and Father delivered him. Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah saw the statue go up. They heard the decree to worship it, and they told their king to his face. We don't have to think about this. No, we're not worshiping your gods, nor the image you set up. And that makes enemies angry. But that's okay. We trust our Father. Okay, we trust the Father. All right. So now we're at chapter 7. We got a few more chapters I want to go through before we start 11. I'm sorry for the delay, but this is all necessary for us to understand the message of the two witnesses as we go forward. Okay. So for now, I'm going to stop here in chapter 6 of Daniel. And I'm going to start at 7 after the break. And the break is not going to be long. The break should be over by 12:15 to 12:30. We'll set up the next thing and we'll go from there. So like it's 11:41 Eastern time now. We're going to take a break. We're going to come back around, I'll say like between 12:15 and 12:30. We'll set it up then. All right. And we'll come back and continue. We need to continue this study, this thing, brethren. So praise the Most High. We're going to break this down, continue again. This is what we're doing here is reviewing Daniel chapter 10 and the message that leads us to understand the return of the Father, whereas the rest of the world will not. And this is the thing. I can talk to y'all freely about it. Most of the world still won't get it because the Father has given it to us. Praise the Most High. All right. All right. May the Most High bless you and keep you. May he cause his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May he lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. Shalom.